Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a follow-up on my first video, my first two videos when I talked about my selective mutism story. I wanted to share with you guys some common misconceptions about selective mutism, why so many people don't really know about it, what we can do as parents if we suspect our children might have selective mutism, and just some general characteristics of shy children and how we can help them perform better. As I mentioned in my first video, selective mutism is a complex childhood anxiety disorder where the child has an inability to speak in social situations, whether that be school, family parties, birthday parties, etc., you name it. More than 90% of children with the disorder have social phobia or social anxiety. Most cases, researchers have found that these children have a predisposition to anxiety in general, which they have inherited from one of their family members. Now, that's not to say that happens with all cases. All cases are completely different. Not all kids manifest this anxiety in the same way. Some children will not communicate at all, even to their parents. And other children may communicate to a select few group of people, or they may even whisper. In my case, I guess I was somewhat lucky. I did speak, but only to my parents. And eventually, a year after the diagnosis, I was able to communicate with a few more people, let's just say. In my case, I found that once I was able to get comfortable with a person, not just by speaking, but just comfortable around them, I was able to speak. And the more comfortable I got, the more I spoke to them. So that's why I think I was able to communicate with my parents, just because they were my parents and I was always with them, so I had to get comfortable with them. Same goes with my sisters. I was able to communicate with them. But even seeing other family members like aunts, uncles, grandparents, who I saw quite frequently, I still wasn't able to communicate with them. And I'm not sure if that was just because I felt like I was on a different level with them or what the case was, but I was not able to communicate with those people. But again, some children don't have this at all. They won't even communicate to their parents. So I could see how frustrating that could be for a parent, because you want your child to speak and the child won't even speak to you. So you feel like you're almost helpless. You don't know how to get them what they need. But again, not many people know about the disorder. In fact, there is scarce research on it, and it's often not included in a textbook, which is why even teachers and other professionals don't really know much about it. So in many cases, the disorder will go undiagnosed, because usually when you find out that your child is having trouble speaking, or they're shy, or they're timid, or they have some withdrawal symptoms, it's usually going to be in a school setting, so their first social setting, which is school, preschool. So the professionals will often come to the parents and say, your child is shy, but they'll probably grow out of it. Most kids do. It happens all the time. And then the disorder will go undiagnosed, because those are the symptoms. You are shy, you don't really talk. But most people just think that's common. I mean, it is common, but for kids who don't grow out of that, at least after the first month, it's like, okay, well, there might be something else wrong here. Other professionals might interpret the disorder as the child being defiant or manipulative or controlling. So parents will often, scold their children or pressure their children to speak, which causes the child to develop adverse behavior. In those cases, the studies from the SMART Center found that children who exhibit this type of behavior are often getting pressured by their parents or teachers or other teaching or treating professionals. And in these children, selective mutism often persists because this becomes negatively reinforced, and it's just kind of, it's not helping them. You're just pressuring them to speak. So for that reason, the best thing that parents can do is just be supportive. Let them know that you understand that they are scared. You understand that they don't want to talk, and let them know that you're here for them if they need help. I feel like in my case, I don't remember speaking to my parents about it much. I don't remember telling them how I felt after a therapy session. I don't remember telling them how I felt if I had a bad day at school. It was kind of just like, okay, we know you have selective mutism. We're going to give you all of these options to help you treat it, and then we're just going to pretend like it doesn't exist. That's essentially how I felt. In my first video, I talked about all of the therapists I saw. There was the psychiatrist, the old man that I saw, who I think I only went to a few times because he wasn't very helpful. And then there was the woman that would often come to my house and come to school with me, which I think helped in some way because I was forced to acclimate to a new person. But that's kind of, it was surface level because I still wasn't speaking to her. She was hanging out with me at home. She'll ask me questions and I'll shake my head. She hung out with me during my recess in elementary school, but then again, that didn't really help the situation because now not only was I the kid at school who didn't speak, but now I was the kid who hung out with this 30-year-old woman during recess rather than being normal and hang out on the playground with the other kids. So to me, it felt like it was just pushing me in the wrong direction. So I'm not sure, I mean, all of the research that I've done is professionals who are telling parents to seek treatment for their child with selective mutism. A treatment just being seeing psychologists and psychiatrists. But I don't know if that was too helpful for me. I think the best thing I could have done is just to have my parents put me in different situations. Not necessarily making me speak, but just getting me out there in the world. Just getting me a little bit uncomfortable day by day would help me. If you are a parent who has a child with selective mutism that does talk to you, I would definitely recommend asking them questions that are going to provoke some sort of emotional response. And by that I mean ask them questions that they might want to keep inside. And by that I mean ask them questions regarding how their day went. How did they feel today? What upset them? What made them happy? Things like that. Get them to open up about the way they're feeling. Because for me, that was like the biggest thing. My parents and I didn't communicate about what I was feeling on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I wasn't just going to say, hey, this or that. I mean, I was only 6 or 7 years old. I would have wanted someone to ask me and force me to tell them how I was feeling and if this was working and if I liked the therapist or if we had a good day or if we, anything that would have triggered me to open up. I was actually doing a little bit of research on how other people are treating selective mutism now, because it's been almost 15 years since I had it, so treatment is going to be very different. I'm sure now with this new research, people are getting diagnosed more frequently as opposed to before where it was kind of something that no one really knew about. I mean, it's still something that not a lot of people know about, but with more research comes more knowledge, and more knowledge, we're able to treat more and more. So someone did recommend have your child take videos of themselves speaking, which I thought was very interesting because it makes sense. Not only did I not know what to say, I didn't know how to say it. And often every time I heard my voice, now that I think about it, as I was growing up, every time I heard my voice recorded, not even just like a video of me, just my voice recorded, I hated it. I hated listening to it. I don't know why. I just did not like the sound of my voice. Every time I saw videos of me, I was like, oh, like, get that away. I didn't like it. And I think that might be part of the reason why I was so unable to speak. I didn't want others to see me the way I saw myself. And that was the biggest impedance for me. I wasn't confident in the way I looked at myself or the way I saw myself or the way I spoke. I didn't have that good self-esteem. And that's why I think it's so important to promote that self-esteem in your children, because that's automatically going to help, whether you have selective mutism or whether you don't. And I think this way of looking at it, having your child take a video of themselves and playing back the video and watching them speak and watching them communicate or interact with themselves, I think that's going to be so beneficial. Especially if they do it on a frequent basis. They're going to get more and more comfortable with looking at themselves, watching the way they speak and watching their gestures and their facial expressions. It's going to get them a little bit more comfortable in themselves, and that will help them get comfortable with talking to others. If I was able to do that when I was a kid, I feel like my growth would have skyrocketed. Because mine took like at least 4 or 5 years before I was speaking to a teacher. That's crazy. And when I feel like I was fully recovered, I was fully out of it, was probably when, or like 10 years later. So it's a slow process. And again, every case is different. Some people may be able to get over it or grow out of it in 2 years, some months, some maybe longer. You take it day by day. My case, month by month or year by year. But I think with the research we've acquired today and the new knowledge that we have now, this process can be so much quicker. And especially with what I talked about, making those videos and helping your child get comfortable and grow their confidence and their self-esteem, it's going to be super beneficial for them. You're going to see the results, and hopefully they will too. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope anyone watching who had selective mutism or has selective mutism, I hope you got something out of this, and I hope you're able to use some of these tips. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.